937, 92.1 WROI, WROIFM.com. We are streaming audio live, RTC Channel 5, and we'll have some video coming up a bit later on, RTC Channel 4. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Tom.
Hey, nice to have you back.
Is it Friday already?
Oh, Friday. The week just flies,
I know.
doesn't it? It certainly does.
I'll be back tomorrow.
We'll look forward to that. Download the TuneIn Radio app. Take us wherever you happen to be going. And it's time now for Doc Talk Radio. We welcome Maureen Neely from Akron to the studio, family nurse practitioner. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for being here. And it's a very important topic, I noticed, that you're going to be discussing today.
Yeah, I thought we would talk a little bit about blood pressure since we all have it.
We all have it, and we all need to keep it under control.
That's right.
All right. Go right ahead.
Okay. Well, first I thought I would just give you some statistics I got, just quick ones. This is from the CDC. But about 70 million American adults, that's one in about 3 adults has high blood pressure or hypertension. Only about half of the people with hypertension have their condition under control. So we got a ways to go on that. Yeah. We do. And then hypertension or high blood pressure was either the primary or contributing cause of death for more than 360,000 Americans in 2013.
Wow.
That's nearly 1,000 deaths per day.
It is.
So it is an important health concern.
It can lead to all kinds of things, can't it?
It can. Yeah. It can, unfortunately. Some of the problems, obviously, we know about are strokes or heart attacks. But I don't think a lot of people realize how connected it is to things like kidney disease and eye health. And it's just, it's kind of sneaky because you don't feel it necessarily. Yeah.
And just a quick, any correlation or relationship between high blood pressure and diabetes?
Yeah, there is. Well, there is because when one is affected, if you have an ill health of an illness like diabetes, you may be more prone to having high blood pressure.
Okay.
Because the diabetes can also affect the kidneys. The kidneys partly regulate the blood pressure, so you can actually start out with just diabetes and end up with diabetes and high blood pressure.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
Continue on.
So, okay. Well, a definition. I thought people don't understand what it is necessarily. It's high blood, or it's the force of blood pushing against the walls of the arteries as the heart pumps. And then I always get the question, well, what's this systolic and diastolic? And systolic is the top number, that big number, and that's when the heart beats, pumping. That's the measurement of when it's pumping. And then diastolic is the pressure when the heart is at rest between beats, which isn't very long.
Right.
But that's your smaller number.
Okay.
Yeah. So normal adult blood pressure, we're getting a lot of that, and that, of course, has kind of fluctuated. Depends on what specialists, I suppose, you talk to. But right now, the normal adult blood pressure we want is about 120 over 80 or less. At least on the bottom number, we could go less. Okay. Now, the other thing that I think a lot of people question is well, sometimes my blood pressure is this, and sometimes it's that. But it has to change. If it was always up, it would be like us being awake all the time. It wouldn't work. So it goes down a little bit when we sleep. When we're resting, it tends to go up if we're excited. So those are some things that you'll notice some fluctuations on.
Same numbers with children?
No, numbers with children vary based on their size and their age. So I didn't bring those with me.
No, that makes sense. So I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't the same as what we expect from an adult.
Right. No, the blood pressure for a child should be different based on their height or their weight and their height, their age. Yeah. All right. So yeah. 2 kinds of blood pressure that we're most familiar with or that people hear about. One is called primary or essential hypertension, and that's the one that develops over time. Excuse me. With weight gain, aging, changing in activity. That's just kind of comes on. Secondary hypertension is the one that can come on, like we were talking about with the diabetes, with another condition or a medication. So those are the 2 biggest ones. And I think it's important to know some of these terms because now we can get online and see our reports from the hospital or our we might get a report from a heart doctor or something, and we want to know what it means. So we have to be kind of proactive on our own health now. we expect people to sort of have an understanding of some of this.
Well, and I think, too, one of the things that Woodlawn has done is they've made it easy to go to your computer with your personal health. Once you get that set up, you can go in and find out some of these things.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's what people bring those in, and they say, "What does this mean, Maureen?"
Right,
you know,
exactly.
so they really want to know. So, again, we're just touching on it, but it kind of gets the ball rolling as
Okay.
far as thinking. And then when I go back to that, diabetes is one, and we use that as our other illness. But the kidneys regulate fluid, salt, and potassium. Primarily, that's kind of one of their big jobs. They're a filter, but if you think about it, they're always talking about salt. Always talking about salt. If there's an increase in salt, your body holds more fluid. If there's an increase in fluid, the pressure will go up because there's more to push around.
All right. So watch your salt intake, basically.
Exactly,
Sure.
exactly. But when the kidneys are not functioning 100%, that also is true. You don't even need to have that much extra salt. Your pressure just is up a little bit because not all of the, I call them all the plumbing isn't all functioning as well as we'd like.
Okay.
The other thing is that the blood vessels have to be flexible, so they have to be able to tighten or stretch out. So I always use the example of a hose. If a hose isn't flexible, it doesn't give with the water pressure. It's gonna, unfortunately, if there's a weak spot, it's gonna break,
Right.
and that's an aneurysm if we're talking about blood vessels.
Wow.
And so you want flexible vessels. You want them to be able to go a little bit bigger if they need to, or a little bit smaller. And that's where, when we get into that cholesterol issue, nobody wants to make that connection either. But cholesterol can build up in your bloodstream, and it stiffens those vessels, so they can't fluctuate like we need them to.
Okay.
So that's a biggie right there. So, so then we go back to what can we do about blood pressure? One of the, the simple things are, eat right, watch the salt, watch the fats. And then the other things that we can do is, pay attention to our medications. I mean, if we notice a difference,
medications probably too.
absolutely. If you notice something, we give you a new medication,
Right.
and you notice a change, let us know, because obviously we can't fix it if we don't know about it. So we need to be able to pay attention to that ourselves.
Can your blood pressure be too low?
It can, and typically that is a concern, especially when we're on multiple blood pressure medicines. But even a simple blood pressure medicine can drop your blood pressure. Most often people notice that when they change position, like from sitting to standing, and they get a little dizziness. Some blood pressure medicines we warn you about, because that may be a side effect, especially initially, until your body kind of regulates and gets used to it. So, but if you notice that and you are taking medication again, you need to let us know, because maybe we need to change that blood pressure medicine.
How often do I need to check it?
Well, it depends.
There's some people probably check it every day.
There are people who do that. I think sometimes that can make you nervous and raise your blood pressure. so I do think it's
Not like being on the radio, though.
right. No, that has nothing to do with my blood pressure. Yeah. I think that if you're in, I always say, fine. If you're in Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, one of those places,
Right.
go ahead, stick your arm in the blood pressure machine. If it says it's too high, at least ask us.
Sure.
Come in.
Sure.
There are easy methods to check it at home. Some insurances actually will encourage you, but I don't think more than once or twice a week for the most part. If you're having a concern, if you're in my age group, that might be something to start paying attention to if you haven't had blood pressure problems before.
Tendencies of your blood pressure to spike then as you get older?
It is, unfortunately.
I'm not saying that about you. I'm talking about myself. So.
Yeah, right. No, it does, because all of those, as I say, the plumbing tends to change.
Right.
I mean, we all know that. And so those vessels, even if we have eaten right, even if we have led a good life, they still tend to get stiffer or slower to respond. And so, you get excited, or you do something, and your pressure goes up, and it may not come back down again, and that's where that fluctuation comes in.
Maureen Neely is our guest. She's the family nurse practitioner at Akron with the Woodlawn Medical Clinic. Other things you'd like to tell us about blood pressure?
Well, I think another topic or another subject that people don't realize connects with blood pressure is sleep apnea. And sleep apnea is where your heart, where during the night, usually, when you're sleeping, you basically stop breathing. And how I explain it to people is when you stop breathing, your heart still beats and it still needs oxygen and it still has to push blood around. And if it has to work harder, then it's going to actually tire out, if you will, a little sooner in life. We don't want that.
Right.
But it also can affect that blood vessels, the blood pressure, because when your heart works harder, it pushes on the vessels harder, which makes the pressure go up. So it's another area that we can check into. If you have a partner that says you snore or you stop breathing at night, or that you're just very restless. Sometimes it is sleep apnea, and we need to address that because that's easily fixed.
I know Woodlawn has a good sleep study area.
They do.
They can really help you out with that.
Exactly, and that it's really important, I think, to. I think some people think it's like the disease of the week kind of thing, and it's not. It's an ongoing issue, and we're more aware of what it can and cannot do.
I think what I hear you saying through all of this is that blood pressure can be a real catalyst for other things that might happen to go wrong in your physical lineup. Exactly.
It can be the beginning, or
Right.
it can be at the tail end of all sorts of other things. So either way, like I said, we all have it.
Right.
It keeps us going, but it's that abnormality in it that we have to pay attention to.
Other things you'd like to pass along?
Another one, that thyroid disease can
Really?
affect your blood
Okay.
pressure. Yeah, because
Okay.
it regulates your metabolism a bit.
Right. And again, there's simple fixes for a lot of these things in terms of medications that you
Right.
can take to level things out.
Right. So I think ultimately the bottom line there is at least make a if not a yearly, a semi-yearly
Right.
appointment with your providers, and get your blood pressure checked, get your labs. Most health plans provide for that now, so you can get a good checkup and not necessarily have to break the bank to do that.
A lot of emphasis on wellness.
Exactly. Yes. I was trying to think. Heart damage. Eye damage. I don't think a lot of people realize blood pressure can affect the eyes. And I think that it's very important when your eyes are very small blood vessels. They're very tiny. If the pressure is that
Right.
little bit too high, that can damage those, and
Hadn't
that can
thought
affect
about
your
that.
vision.
Good
Yeah.
point.
So that's, I think, another one that people don't connect.
Right.
So if you have changes in vision, certainly go to your eye doctor, but you might also want to get your blood pressure checked.
Good point.
Yeah. So, and then things you can do, we already talked about a little bit, the low salt diet, use
Okay.
no added salt prepared foods. You can see an example I can think of is green beans, says like right on it, no added salt.
Right.
Fine. You buy that over the prepared ones. Read your labels. Most people on average want about 2,300 milligrams of sodium or less per day. It's on the label. It says right on there, sodium. Increase your whole grains, increase your fruits, your veggies, eat healthy. Omega-3 fish such as salmon, tuna, and trout a couple times a week will help. Activity, moderate intensity aerobic, which means, just walking briskly 2 to 3 hours a week. And that doesn't have to be all at once.
So exercise will make a difference.
Absolutely. It tones up those muscles that are around those blood vessels and helps them to remain flexible. And then vigorous activity, 1 or 2 hours a week. Again, not all at the same time. I mean, I think I've seen commercials even that, point out that vacuuming or running up and down the stairs with your laundry basket is part of it.
Sure.
It's just not all of it. You have to get some other stuff. And then alcohol is another one that we know can affect, partly because of the calories, which add fat. And so adding fat
Right.
stiffens those blood vessels. But I don't think people realize how much is an appropriate amount. For men, it's usually no more than 2 drinks per day, and for women, it's only 1 per day. We react to alcohol differently.
Okay.
1 drink is equal to a 12-ounce can of beer. So for guys, 2 beers a night. For women, 1, or a glass of 5 ounces of wine, or 1.5 ounces of liquor. 'Cause those are equal 1 drink.
Okay.
So, and then I think the biggie in this world is stress reduction.
So hard to get away from that sometimes.
It is music, yoga,
Right.
doing something you enjoy. I call it you need the stop and smell the roses time.
Right.
People say, well, I walk all day at work. Isn't that enough exercise? Well, it is, but when you're walking at work, you're under a stress. You got to get from point A to point B on the clock. When you get home, you need to de-stress. You need to get those yucky chemicals and hormones out of our body. So, I always say, go walk around the house, just putz around, don't think, oh, well, now I got to go dig a hole and plant a tree. Go out and scope out the yard, but don't do any, just chill.
And chill out a little bit. Kind of do things you want to do.
Exactly.
Things that make you happy.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And you could listen to the radio.
Yeah, absolutely.
While you do it.
Sure. Good idea.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I think that's an important thing, and I think we just put it on the back burner, and I think it's really important. So yeah.
All right.
So
Maureen Neely, family nurse practitioner from Akron, and also part of Woodlawn Hospital System as well. Pretty much covered it today.
I think so. I think the other thing is talk to your providers about your medications. There's a zillion different kinds. Most people are not controlled on one medication. So if you have to have 2 or 3, you're not unique. It's not because you're being a bad person. It's just sometimes we have to hit it from different angles.
Make sure those medications are all interactive too.
Correct.
Get along with each other.
Exactly. Right? Exactly.
How do we get a hold of you if we have further questions?
Well, I'm at the corner, just behind the restaurant at the corner of 114 and 14 in Akron, and our number is 598-2020.
Okay. Thank you very much. Very good information today, and I think very important information for folks too.
Right.
And if you haven't had your blood pressure checked for a while, you can go see you. I know Compassionate Care will also take care of some of those folks as well. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, we have lots of options in
our
community where we're blessed by that. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, Maureen Neely, thank you very much for being here.